All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Yellow Card Podcast, episode 42, presented to you by Couch Guy Sports and brought to you by Exogun. Thank you so much, Exogun, for the sponsorship. We'll get into the ad a little bit later. I would like to begin first with a huge shout out to our previous guest on the podcast, Arielle Castillo. Thank you so much for having joined us. She was a phenomenal guest. We'll miss her on podcasts moving forward, but we'll look to have her back again, hopefully sometime soon in the future. She's a busy content producer for Manchester City, and as the off season continues to heat up the way that has been heating up, can't expect it to have any time soon. But anyways, your host, as always, Diego Galvez, joined by Chris Jones and Andrew Fasciano. Fellas, how are we doing tonight?
Doing good. No complaints. No
There
complaints.
we go. There we
A
go.
little bit later of a recording than we're used to, but we're managing. We're managing.
So are you feeling a little tired? Maybe a massage along the way?
No, it's just we got a busy weekend coming up for all three of us. Different reasons, of course.
Yeah.
So
Because I'm feeling that a
being
massage might be helpful.
A little percussion therapy, perhaps, to get us back in the game.
Yeah. See, Andrew knows what I'm talking about. The percussion therapy, the hands-free feeling, the portable feeling.
I'm not gonna lie. I knew we would talk about it. Went right over my head. so just
you know what?
Read the ad, please.
Don't worry about it. This tool that I'm talking about is the latest and the greatest of technology that sports entertainment could use for. It is Exogun. It is the adjustable portable massaging gun that you should have at all times, especially after an intense workout where you feel like you need a massage. Percussion therapy, as Andrew mentioned, like, what the hell is that? Speak to me in English, right?
Yeah, Andrew, thank you for saying it right so Diego didn't mess it up again.
Hey, listen, the percussion therapy, okay? The percussion therapy.
Here we go. Yep, see?
Is a type of listen, it's a type of therapy you need right now, Chris. You need to boost that muscle function, recover by getting penetrated deep into the muscle tissue that you worked so hard.
Those pulsating strokes, please.
Oh my God. Listen, you're just gonna gain back control and just achieve long-term pain relief by Exogun. And since we're talking about Exogun, and since we're presented by Couch Guy Sports, and we are your boys in the hood, fellas, I got a discount for you. I got a discount code for you. It is CGS10 as Charlie Gold. Shop 10. CGS10 gets you 10% off of your order today. Go use that code again. It is CGS10, 10% off your order. You can thank us later. Anyways, now down to the itty-gritty piece of this whole entire podcast tonight. Euro 2020. My God, what a tournament. I'm an asthmatic by nature. I think I've been very close to just having a bunch of heart attacks watching all of these games this week because not one of them failed to be amazing this week at all. Not one of them.
Can you use a different analogy there than heart attack? I'm talking about the Euros, please.
We could say, we could say that if you fell asleep, shame on you. Because if you did, really shame on you. Shame on you, big time. These were amazing games. Phenomenal overall just talent showed throughout the whole entire competition. In episode 41, Arielle, Chris, Andrew, and myself got into a little bit of some predictions. So, Chris, over to you for what that record looked like and whose funeral it might be this week.
Well, it's mine. I thought the memo was everybody to wear black for Chris's funeral. Apparently, Diego didn't get that memo as he's.
I'm always celebrating.
Manchester United jersey. We'll get into why he's a little bit happy in a little bit. So we had a tie at the top between Diego and Arielle, both at 5-3.
Wow!
Shout out to them.
Thank you. Hey.
Mr. Consistency, Fasciano, 4-4, the 500 guy.
I'll
There
take
you
it.
go.
I'll take it.
And then me, I had Italy right, and that's it. I went 1-7, completely wrong.
You got the appetizer right, but the rest of the meal completely burnt.
Well, listen, not for nothing. I couldn't even get France right, for crying out loud. What a shocking turn of events that was.
That
Did
was
any of us
just-
get that one right?
No.
No. That was
Alright.
the
I
only
don't
one
think so.
that was that in the Netherlands was both the only game that nobody got right.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm looking at that France game to begin with, right? And okay, they go up 2-1, and then Paul Pogba scores a screamer of a goal for that third goal. That thing was a screamer.
Masterclass goal.
That
Basically showed the world that he still has it.
Listen, if that is not the goal of Euro 2020, I don't know what other goal could be. It might just need to come down like to the semifinal, final round.
It depends.
But that was goal of Euro 2020.
It depends if England's in the final, and whatever the game, if they score a game-winning goal, that's going to be the goal of the tournament. Just because it's coming home.
It might just be. But that was just amazing to watch the way that he put that ball right in the top corner, like nothing ever even happened. The minute that they went up 3-1, I was like, I think even the announcer of that game was like, this thing is over. And then all of a sudden, like within 5 to 10 minutes left in the game, not even that, Switzerland just turns it around 3-3. And then Kylian Mbappe misses a penalty, which is, I mean, I get it. It's a big stage for Kylian, and it happens to the best of the players in the world, but that was just completely unexpected, especially how good of a form he was in.
Can I retort from what I watched towards the end of that game?
Sure.
So Pogba scores in the 75th. Switzerland then just instantly turns up. 6 minutes later, they score. They score again in the 90th minute, tied up. Added time.
10 seconds to go before the 90th minute.
There were chances both ways in added time.
Yeah.
Could not do it. And then Swiss just masterclass the majority of their penalties. Hugo Lloris just got his hand on it and went in, but masterclass by Switzerland. And France looked very good as well. But just the way that Mbappe was walking up, and I sat in my chair and I looked, I go, he's going to fucking miss it, isn't he? Now, there was a little controversy with Summer potentially leaving the line a little bit too early. VAR checked it. That's why he didn't celebrate right away, which stinks because it kind of ruined a big moment for the short period of time. Because just imagine how nuts they would have went if he could have celebrated right away and not have to wait for a VAR.
I mean, the fans still went nuts when they celebrated, though. I mean, that was just it was back again to when Shaqiri basically saved Switzerland from an elimination. I think it was in the World Cup, if I'm not mistaken. I could be completely wrong, but it was just like that. It was just so inspiring to watch. And speaking of Jan Sommer, what a performance in that game. My God. That guy has got to be one of the top prospects coming out of Euro 2020, if he isn't already. Like, yeah, Donnarumma has been excellent. I mean, we expect that out of him at this point. He's in our minds one of the top goalies in the world right now, if not the top goalie in the world. But Jan Sommer, like, how many of us actually ever heard of his name before up until Euro 2020? Because I know I didn't. I know I never did.
So. I did. Basically what happened was, so Summer's been the goaltender for Gladbach since 2014, and he slowly has worked his way up. The 32-year-old goaltender has been big time for Switzerland since he's joined the national team and became their starting goaltender. So this is why Switzerland has the chance to be moving on to the semifinals, because they have him in the back.
Yeah. And then, Andrew, any additional thoughts there?
Yeah, I mean, it was a crazy game. When it was 3-1 France, I thought for sure they were through, but it all just changed so quickly. And even it could have gone back the other way too. Kingsley Coman, I think in the
Oh
dying
my God,
seconds
that
of
post.
normal time, hit the post or the crossbar with an incredible shot. So the narrative could have been completely different if that had been a few inches over and had gone in. So it was, I think, definitely one of the best games I've watched in this tournament. I haven't watched them all, to be fair, but in terms of back and forth excitement, it was pretty tough to beat.
Absolutely.
Spain and Croatia right up with it as well earlier that day. But yeah, it was a phenomenal match, and I was really impressed by Switzerland hanging in there against France.
We're talking about a game of inches, right?
Yeah.
Real quick,
Yep.
you transition to England and Germany. How close was Thomas Mueller from tying the game? And then literally 3 minutes later, England goes down and scores again. And literally, it's just the big pendulum swing
So
of the game right there.
Before we get too deep into that England-Germany game, which was real good. I mean, both sides were very close to one another in terms of talent. There was not really a lot of difference. But one of the games that slightly disappointed me a lot was actually Belgium and Portugal. I felt like Belgium lacked a lot of their talent there. I think that if this is a victory that they want to be bumping their chest about, I personally wouldn't, because it just disappointed in many variables. Portugal could have clearly had this victory if it wasn't for a bunch of misses by a bunch of their own. I mean, Jota wasn't on his top form. Renato Sanchez coming off. That was just kind of really stupid of Francisco Santos there. It just a lot of that game was disappointing. But speaking of England and Germany, though, we've said this before and we'll say it again. Jack Grealish has got to be in your starting 11. If it wasn't for Jack Grealish coming into this game in such a late stage of the game, because he came in at the 75th minute, if I'm not mistaken.
No, I think it was a little earlier than that.
Maybe the 70th. 69th minute. He came in for Bukayo Saka, which everybody that was watching this was like, what in the hell's going on with Gareth Southgate? Because Bukayo Saka had looked to be one of the best players in this whole entire match. He was having a phenomenal game. But it was that brilliant move by Southgate at the same time that allowed for Jack Grealish, Luke Shaw, who was phenomenal this whole entire game, and Raheem Sterling to be able to create chances to finally get that goal that this game desperately needed. Then again, later on, probably towards like the end of the game, towards the 86th minute, it was again Luke Shaw and Jack Grealish linking up for a play that led for a beautiful cross pass from Jack Grealish that just left it there in a silver platter for Harry Kane to just tap it in. If you couldn't tap that in as Harry Kane, you got some serious questions to answer here, because he was basically MIA the whole entire game in itself until that opportunity. Finally, he came in shining for England. But again, I just go back to my point. Jack Grealish has got to be a starting in the starting 11 for England. It's just wrong. It's just wrong to have this guy sitting there for his moment.
No, I agree. I think with England as a whole, I think one thing that we really need to start to give credit to is how Jordan Pickford has legitimately elevated his game on the national level.
Yes.
He has, again, he played well for the majority of the year with Everton, struggled down the stretch, happens to everybody. But this way, playing against Germany, who's a top 10 team in the world, and playing like you did and holding them to a clean sheet, and literally having your fourth clean sheet in a row, you got to respect it, right there. And I know it put a smile on my Everton fan friend face right there. But no, I thought the round of 16 was very, very exciting, and I'm excited for the quarterfinals.
Andrew, give us your thoughts on Jordan Pickford, because I know you've been one of the guys most supported about Jordan Pickford, and I'll admit it. I mean, I have my doubts about him, but just after this game, there's nothing else you can do but just say nothing but respect for the guy. Him and even Harry Maguire. Like, I've been harsh on Harry Maguire, and Maguire was so good defensively for England. It's like whenever they put on those colors, it's just a complete different player that you're getting.
So before Andrew speaks, if I may, still have my doubts about Pickford just because it's the talent from him is tremendous. I would love to see him be able to do this an entire year at Everton, which would be ideal. And for the Harry Maguire aspect of it, he's playing very well because he's not playing with scrubs like Victor Lindelof as his center back partner. He is probably one of the best center backs in the country, and John Stone's playing next to him as well. So just take that with a grain of salt as well.
Yeah, well, I think I've watched Jordan Pickford at Everton enough to know that when he's mentally locked in, he'll give you some incredible stops. And he's a very complete goaltender as well. His distribution can be a real weapon when he's firing and when he's leading his team from the back and he's nice and vocal. I think he's easily England's best goalkeeper and has the potential to be one of the best keepers in the Premier League. And I think we saw a real shift from sort of the first half of the season to the second half of the season with Everton when he started working with the sports psychologist. I think it helped him get a lot of his mojo back and his confidence. And when he's a confident goalkeeper, he can play out of this world. And that's what he did a lot of the second half of the season with Everton. And it's what he's continued to do with England. And I'm really glad to see him start to get more recognition on sort of a national media scale, because I think if you had asked a lot of Everton fans going into the tournament how they felt about Pickford, it would have been a lot of confidence, but probably fans across the league probably wouldn't have felt the same way just because of some of the mistakes he made earlier in the season. So I'm really happy that he's playing so well. He hasn't conceded a goal all tournament, so it's pretty hard to argue with that. And I'm excited to see him continue doing his thing, hopefully into the next Premier League season with Everton.
I mean, he's also, I think we mentioned this in the past, and I think, Chris, you might have mentioned this, but it's not easy to come back from a psychological mindset where on the opposite side of where you're playing, on the opposite side of Merseyside, you have a bunch of people who currently absolutely want to go after you for hurting their best player in Virgil van Dijk, right? So that in itself has got to take a toll psychologically. And the fact, as to what Andrew just mentioned, that working in that psychological aspect, and then having to deal with Robin Olsen could very easily just take over my job. I mean, that in itself has got to take a toll here. Now he's in a national team where you got the confidence of Gareth Southgate, which is huge. When your national team coach is already trusting you, that just boosts your morale in itself automatically. But then the rest of your whole entire team is behind you. You got a defense of an amazing defense. I mean, Kyle Walker, John Stones, Harry Maguire, Luke Shaw, Kieran Trippier. I mean, whoever you have in that defense, it's a really good defensive back. That just gives you even far more support for you to just be like, it's time for me to have fun. It's time for me to be the player that I know I can be. And it's time to lock myself in my head and just get into the game. And I think what Andrew just mentioned too, about getting locked in, being vocal, and being that guy that leads the team, is just so essential for Jordan Pickford's performance. And that's what we're seeing right now. It's just all coming in together. It's phenomenal watching it. And like I said earlier, I just have nothing but respect for this guy. It's just been real fun to watch. But moving on, we got the quarterfinal rounds starting tomorrow and we're, just so you know, we're recording on July 1st. It is about 8:38 here in Boston, Eastern Standard Time. So wherever you're tuning in from, just know the time difference. We got Switzerland versus Spain, Belgium versus Italy tomorrow. Then on Saturday, we have Czech Republic versus Denmark, and we got Ukraine versus England. Let's go real quick into predictions. And maybe what are some key factors that we should be looking into? So let's dive into Switzerland versus Spain. Andrew, I'm gonna go with you first. Give me your key factors to watch out for here and who you see moving on.
I'm going to go with Spain to move on from this game. I think obviously we saw in the 2 round of 16 games involving these teams, Spain playing Croatia and Switzerland playing France, that both teams maybe weren't as solid defensively as they would have liked to be. Both teams gave up 3 goals in regular time. Although both teams did hold their opposition scoreless in extra time, so maybe there was a bit of an improvement there. But I just think that Spain overall has a lot more attacking talent. I see them kind of, if you want to look back at the round of 16 game between Switzerland and France, I could see them being a comparable team to France in that I think they have the talent to control the ball and try and break down Switzerland over the course of 90 minutes. And I don't think they're going to make the same sort of weird defensive mistakes that France made against Switzerland. They came out of the gate, France did, with just sort of a weird system with 3 center backs, but their center backs, especially Kimpembe, were pushing up the field and sort of like overlapping with their wing backs. And it was just a lot of moving parts, which left them open to get picked off on the counter, which Switzerland did a couple of different times in that game. So I think Spain can learn from that and avoid making that same sort of mistake. And I think they have the offensive talent needed to break Switzerland down on the other end of things.
All right. Chris, go right ahead, sir.
I'm gonna ride with Spain as well here. I think Spain moves on, and I think for one reason only, Switzerland will not have captain Granit Xhaka as he received his second booking against France, so he is not going to be able to play in this game, and I think that's a huge loss for them right off their bat. Them not having him, I think, is big. And also Spain is riding hot right now as they're the first team in, I think, European Championship history to score 5 or more goals in consecutive games. So it's hard to not ride the hot hand right now. I'm going to take Spain here, and I think they're going to win 3-1.
Okay. I would agree that Spain is the winner in this round. I do think that this is a tough matchup for Spain because you got a Swiss side that's running high on emotions and high on motivation. When you have those two combined for a deliverable, it's really a hard task to bring them down from there. You got a great keeper, and as we've mentioned, in Jan Sommer, and even without their captain Granit Xhaka, I feel like Rodriguez and maybe even Fabian Schär could have a big impact in this game should they be able to start for Switzerland here. I think it's important as well that their bulldog Shaqiri here could have a bigger involvement in this game as his counterpart Granit Xhaka is out. That leaves him to be able to be far more open in the midfield and create far more chances for somebody like Seferovic and Bolo, and maybe even Ruben Vargas if he comes into this game. I do think, for some reason, this game could go into extra time. It could be a 2-2 tie game at the end of 90. That extra time will probably end up 0-0. But the Spain aspect of things in penalties, I feel that their confidence is just oozing far more, and their talent is just far more locked in this opportunity where they could potentially just kick Switzerland out of the tournament and Spain moves on. So I'm also riding with Spain, but I don't think it's as much of an easy game as we potentially expect it to be. I think their easiest game of the season was against Slovakia, and hence the performance there, 5-0. Moving on to Belgium and Italy, which we can all agree here is the match of this tournament. England versus Germany was before it, but now Belgium versus Italy is just, it's a time bomb waiting to just blow off. I'm going to go with Chris first because I know he's got some Gianluigi Donnarumma things to say, so I can't wait to hear these. Go right ahead, Jones.
Well, I just think this in general is going to be one of the best games of the tournament. Because if I'm not mistaken, I think at major tournaments, I think this is the fifth meeting between Belgium and Italy. And Italy has won 3 and drew 1. They haven't lost to Belgium yet, so that's already a big sign right there. I think for Belgium, it's going to be tough because you already don't have Kevin De Bruyne, who's going to be out with an injury. And then you also will not have Eden Hazard, who was also out with an injury. So those are two pieces right there that right off the bat takes you down a little bit on the peg. But again, just knowing how Italy's luck has been in the past when it comes to European championships, it's just I don't know, man. I think this is going to be the game that goes in extra time, and I think that this has a realistic shot of going down to penalties. And I don't know. I'm gonna take Italy just because the heritage, but I'm just so inconsistent on how I feel about this game right now. I think Donnarumma is going to be big time in this, and Courtois is going to do what he needs to do.
Andrew, what about you, sir?
I'm going to go with Italy as well in this one. I think, they've only conceded 1 goal all tournament. That came against Austria in extra time, so they still haven't conceded in regulation time in 90 minutes. Belgium didn't exactly blow me away, I would say, in their game against Portugal. They did what they had to do, but it wasn't really a big emphatic victory, let's say. And like you said, Chris, if one or both of De Bruyne and Eden Hazard can't go for that one, I have a hard time seeing them break down Italy and create enough chances to compete with them, because Italy, as Italian teams do, they can defend, but this Italian team can also hurt you and score goals. So I just think overall they're more well-rounded and deeper than Belgium are. This game could certainly go either way. These are two of the best teams in the world for a reason, but just on the balance of form and the runs that these teams have been on, I like Italy in this one.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think I think I could find the problem for Belgium. And this is where Roberto Mancini is just so lethal because he knows how to penetrate these issues when needed. There are 2 people that I think will be very essential in order for Italy to move on. That is Manuel Locatelli starting, and that is Federico Chiesa starting as well. Federico Chiesa was a major factor in their victory previously. He was just sensational, and that speed that this kid's got is just an absolute threat, especially when you have Bertonga and Alderweireld in the back. These 2 guys do not handle speed well at all. When Chiesa's locked in, his speed and his toughness and his technicality is just extremely lethal for this Belgian defense that honestly struggled big time against Portugal. They were just so scrappy. They were just that it wasn't quality. It was just scrappy. However, for Italy, I think it would be. I think for them it'd be very, very, very important to be able to lock it in the midfield, because if Belgium starts with Yannick Carrasco involved, or maybe even Mishi Batsuashi, it's gonna be a difficult task to confront if you're Italy. However, I do think that the absence of their talisman Kevin De Bruyne and Eden Hazard at the same time, it's just too much for Belgium to take on. And I think the only good thing that they got going on is Romelu Lukaku just being a force of nature himself. He's just so physical and such a good battler up there. But unless you're Lukaku and you don't have the support of Yuri Tillsman involved, as well as Axel Witsel, you're not getting that ball anytime soon, unless Italy just messes up big time in their defense, which I don't expect them to, because Italy's been very good defensively. Bonucci has been real good. Spinazzola has been phenomenal. De Lorenzo has been real good in that right wing as well whenever needed and whenever called upon. Federico Bernardeschi could be a part of that defense too if needed, because he's just that versatile of a player. The only down factors here is just not having Giorgio Chiellini for the aerial battle that he could have against somebody like Romelu Lukaku, but that's not a challenge when you have a great keeper in Gianluigi Donnarumma. So I do see Italy moving on. Now on to what I think could be another really good matchup here. Czech Republic versus Denmark on Saturday, July 3rd at about noontime Eastern time. And then we have Ukraine versus England at about 3 p.m. that same exact day, Eastern Standard Time. Jones, Czech Republic versus Denmark. Your thoughts there?
Well, the Czech Republic is going to be without Lucas Provod, which is a big loss for them. And with Denmark, I think their captain, Kaiser, is going to be back in the lineup after suffering a thigh injury. I think he's fit to play, and he'll be playing as well. I think is going to be a big key in this matchup as well. Also, I think hopefully we see Yusuf Poulsen in the starting lineup for Denmark in this game, because they look very good against Wales. Nice 4-0 victory. But the only thing is the Czech Republic has had their numbers when facing in the European competitions. Obviously, they haven't played in the Euros against each other since I think the 2004 quarterfinals or something like that. And the Czechs won both of those matchups. So I think from that standpoint, you would think the Czech Republic would be the play here, but I just think with the Christian Eriksen story, still this Denmark team is hungry. I do think we're going to see them moving on here, and I think Denmark wins 2-1.
All right. Andrew, what about you, sir?
Yeah, I agree again with Chris. I think Denmark is going to take this one. You mentioned riding the hot hand with Spain in that matchup against Switzerland. I think it's sort of a similar situation where Denmark has just been on fire in their last 2 games. They've gotten goal scoring from all over the place. Guys have stepped up in the absence of Christian Eriksen, and just from purely the standpoint of a fan in terms of storylines, there's not a whole lot better in the tournament right now than Denmark, I would say. So I will fully admit that I'm probably going to be rooting for Denmark in this one, but also just in terms of the depth they have in their team, I think the way they've been playing, I think on paper, I would have them as the favorites as well.
Yeah, no, I'm going to agree with you guys too. I think Denmark has had their hot hand riding high at big times. Kasper Schmeichel has been very good for them. I mean, he had a lot to deal with against Wales, and the guy just was a solid brick wall for them. I think another one that low-key has been undermined a lot, but he has delivered really good performances as well, is Chelsea's Andrea Christensen. He's been so good in the back for them. It's exactly what you expect out of a caliber of what he's got. Pierre-Emile Holberg has been real good as well. And just recently too, Martin Braithwaite from Barcelona has been very reliable for them. And I think it opens up their game a lot more. Delaney has been really good for Denmark as well. I just think I agree with much of what you guys said. Their offensive game and even just the aerial battle and the defense is so well covered that I'm not sure the Czech Republic could get by this time. They might have won in 2004 before, and they might have won their previous matches there, but this is a complete different Denmark, just riding in high motivation mode. And it would be, I think that all of us watching the Euro 2020 would be behind the storyline for them to get as far as they can. I think if anything, nobody would be excited about Czech Republic moving on, except for obviously the Czechs. Now moving on to Ukraine versus England. Low key a good battle, but in another one, it's like really not a good battle because there's so many advantages that England's got. I'm gonna go first here. I think actually England has this one, but don't be super confident in that. The reason I say that is Yarmolenko continues to just be incredible for Ukraine. If it's not Yarmolenko, then it's Alexander Zinchenko, who scored a beauty of a goal not too long ago either, against Sweden. The last times that they have met, I think it's been about 7 or 8 times, maybe 7 in itself. But Ukraine has only won one time against them in these tournaments like this. And I just think that with the depth that England has, and knowing that at any point Jack Grealish could come in if he's not the starter, it's just for Ukraine, Jack Grealish himself is just way too much to handle, and it leaves for everyone else to be wide open. If you have, this is the game where I can actually see Gareth Southgate finally starting Jadon Sancho now that he's taken care of, and we'll get into that soon. That's another one. That's a lot of technicality, creativity that this guy's got that it's just way too much for Ukraine to handle. And maybe we'll see Harry Kane just finally be locked in. I think him finally getting that goal against Germany kind of gave him that oomph that he needed. And I think this is where we see Harry Kane being a major factor. So I'm going with England. I'd even say 3-0, honestly.
So, trying to think about when these two have met at a Euro competition. I think it was 2012. And England only won 1-0. I think. Who the fuck's? I think it was a Wayne Rooney masterclass.
Probably
goal. That
probably
would be probably more than right. But the only thing, but England is so. In their previous 3 quarterfinal matches at the European Championship, they played Spain in '96. They moved on there, but then in 2004 and in 2012, they lost in penalty shootouts to Portugal and Italy. This isn't Portugal or Italy. This is Ukraine. Ukraine's been a fantastic story so far, but if you're England, this is all you have to think about. This is the last game you play. It's not in your home stadium. The semifinal and the final are all at Wembley. So you have that to look forward to as well. And with the way that Ukraine and England have played in the past, I'm pretty sure Ukraine have only scored 3 goals in those 7 meetings and haven't scored more than a goal ever against England. So that's another thing right off the bat. I think it's going to be a lot closer just because the style that this England team plays, they play up to their opponent. They don't try to dominate the entire way. Like if they were playing Spain or Italy or Belgium or one of the better teams talent-wise, I feel like this could be a very good masterclass game for England. But I think they're going to play down to Ukraine. I think Ukraine's going to stay in it. But I think at the end of it, Jack Grealish gets the job done for them, and England wins 1-0 and moves on to the semifinals.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a close matchup as well. I think Ukraine are a very scrappy team, and they've been impressive this tournament. Part of me feels like with England's history at the Euros, it would be classic England to beat a really tough German team and then lose to an underdog like Ukraine in the quarterfinals. But something about this England team feels a little bit different, in my opinion. I think the fact that they've gotten to this point with those questions still out there about their best 11, that Grealish and Sancho both have sort of presented just with the talent that they have. I think that's impressive that they've done so well, even with all that going on. They still haven't conceded a goal all tournament. Pickford has been really good. The defense has been really good, led by John Stones. I think they just have too many pieces and too much momentum going for them. Ukraine will come out and fight for sure. That's what they've done all tournament, but I like England to get it done in this one.
All right, so there you have it. There's our predictions for the Euro 2020 quarterfinals starting on July 2nd. So always make sure to follow us for updates as we continue to monitor the Euro 2020 competition. But now it's time for the real hot stove of this week, the transfer window. Holy crap, I may just say. The water has been boiling. It's been boiling for quite a very long time. For starters, Everton and Tottenham get their manager assignments completed, done, and dealt with. Everton signing Rafael Benitez as their head coach to lead the charge for their 2021-2022 season. And Tottenham, after many possible candidates and very close candidates to getting the job, Tottenham finally assigns the job to Nuno Espirito Santo after their new director of operations decides to just finally move on and get it done with. Moving on from there, the biggest here we go, shout out to Fabrizio Romano on that one. The biggest here we go thus far in this storyline has been the Jadon Sancho move finally to Manchester United after a year and maybe some more of expectations, negotiations falling through, hopes that him and Marcus Rashford would realign and be part of a magical spell that they could deliver. And we're expecting a lot more. So, Chris, I know you've been preaching to the choir, following media reports on the potential Rafael Varane signing to Manchester United. I think it's very close. I think it's very likely to happen as well. I am just wondering, what could we see from Florentino Perez to delay this from happening? Because we all know how Florentino could be. We all know how he is. He's just a scheming little.
Not for nothing, but this has been something that I've been preaching to you for months and months before it really took off in the media, per se. But I do think that they're going to do whatever it takes to get this done, because having him next to Harry Maguire, we've seen what Harry Maguire can do with great quality center backs, not guys like Victor Lindelof. Yeah. So just imagining how that could bolster that Man United defense off the bat.
Oh, there's no question right there.
Big piece right there.
I think the question that I have mainly is just, I mean, we saw. So this is another storyline too that we saw, and I think Andrew, you can probably agree with this. But we saw that Sergio Ramos finally left Real Madrid, right, after such a great tenure with the team, and after only asking for a 2-year contract extension, where the money didn't even matter to the guy. He was not there for the money. He just wanted 2 more years with the team, and Florentino Perez was like, "Nah, I can only offer you a year, and that's just me being nice. I don't want you here anymore." Now PSG comes, gives Sergio Ramos exactly what he wanted, a 2-year contract, and says, "You know what, man? You deserve the money. We're going to give you the money. Here's your 2-year contract with the money that you deserve. Let's get you in here. Let's get you in blue. Parade all the way," right? It's just so hard to think of Florentino Perez giving up Rafael Varane so quickly, with just leaving in their defense just Marcelo Vieira to be their captain. And I mean, Marcelo just this past season, he wasn't himself at all. He just wasn't himself at all. And so I'm thinking to myself, if I'm actually, I don't even remember if Real Madrid have assigned a new coach.
Carlos.
No, yeah.
Oh no, that's right, Carlo.
That's right,
Carlo. All right, so with Carlo back, I mean, you're leaving a skeleton crew for Carlo to build up from. At this point, what else do you do?
They still have, what's his name?
I mean, yeah, you got Lucas Vasquez and you have Marcelo Vieira, but besides
we're talking center backs right now, because they're probably looking like they're going to lose their starting duo of Ramos and Varane. So that leaves you Eder Militao and Nacho for right now.
Yeah, Eder Militao and Nacho, but that
actually no, that's a lie, because what's his face is coming in, David Alaba.
True, yeah,
but that's not a center back. He hasn't been playing center back for Bayern Munich.
I think he's coming there to play center back. Was the rumor?
I mean, if that's the case, then that's great. That's a great upgrade, but you're still missing an essential center back still.
Yeah,
unless you're just looking to go 3-5-2. I don't
If
know.
I were Real Madrid, I would want to keep Varane at all costs, given that he's still only 28. He's won just about everything you can win as a player already. So if you're losing someone like Ramos, you need that experience that Varane brings to the table. And I mean, theoretically, if you're Real Madrid and you're trying to get a little bit younger, Varane in the prime of his career would be the perfect player to try and build that defense around, in my opinion. So I have no idea what's going to happen, whether he'll be out the door, if they'll keep him. But personally, if I was there, I would really like to keep him around, given that someone as experienced as Ramos is already heading out the door.
And let's just not forget, Real Madrid just completed a loan assignment with Brahim Diaz to Milan. That was another young talent that you should have kept in your roster at all times, because that's reliable. So at this point, it's like, I by no means am I against the Varane signing. Hell, bring him in at whatever cost it is. If I'm the Glazers, if I'm all gonna Solskjaer, but if I'm Florentino Paris, I know I need to do whatever it takes, because you gave up your search after Jules Koundé, even though you should have continued on that, knowing that Jules Koundé is a reliable center back, especially now bringing in David Alaba. Like, those two could have a phenomenal chemistry. You gave up last year in your search for the center back for Napoli now, Koulibaly.
Mm-hmm.
You gave up research on that. I'm just saying to myself, what the hell are you doing, Florentino? Real Madrid is not the same scary Real Madrid that we're used to when we were back in 2000, even 2000 and 2006. That Real Madrid was just a scary team to face at any cost. And never mind the midfield, because Tony Cruz has already decided to retire from the German national team. That's expected to happen any second now, that announcement, if it hasn't already been done. Casemiro doesn't look happy at Real Madrid anymore. He's not the same guy he was anymore. Luka Modric is probably going to be retiring very soon too, considering he's almost done with Croatia. What else do you have? And then attacking pieces, you just have Karim Benzema. That's it. I'm just not sure. If I'm Real Madrid, this is the time where I'm concerned, and I'm looking to make the most of my signings, especially from Carlo Ancelotti too. Carlo was very eager to develop a good Everton team, and he went after James Rodriguez really, really hard right off the bat. I just haven't seen him do anything here for Real Madrid. He's a phenomenal manager, but if you don't have the tools, what are you really managing? It's the question. We've also, moving on from Real Madrid and Manchester United, PSG. My God, if this team doesn't win Champions League, or at least Ligue 1, it's time as an owner to just give up. You got that. I think we shared it on our Twitter page, because even Luis Miguel Echegaray, who's a friend of the podcast, even agreed that just this PSG team is just looking scary. When you're looking at that lineup, you just signed Donnarumma, who's probably gonna take the number 1 spot over Keylor Navas. That's just something that's likely to happen. Then you got Diallo, Kimpembe, Sergio Ramos, another addition in Achraf Hakimi. You got Marquinhos, who's just been. There's nothing else you can say about Marquinhos. You stole Wijnaldum from Barcelona. You got Berratti in there. Then you still have the lethal trio of Neymar, Mbappe, and Di Maria. I mean, what else could you ask for as a PSG fan, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty clear that they felt that their finish in Ligue 1 last season was not acceptable, because after losing out on the title to Lille, they have absolutely loaded up. I mean, it seems like if there's a big name on the move, chances are they're going to PSG right now. So they're building a terrifying team. I guess the question will be whether or not they gel and work together. If there's a manager to do it, Pochettino is a pretty good pick because he does a great job of getting his team to play together as a team and getting the most out of his players. So I think if they weren't already one of the big Champions League favorites, they absolutely are now. And given the amount of talent they've brought in, I'd imagine that that's what they're thinking internally too. It's if they don't win the Champions League this year, I think they may have fallen short of the expectations that they'll be setting for themselves based on who they're bringing in.
I'd almost be willing to say that PSG, if they don't win anything, they're like the New York Yankees of soccer at this point. Like, you got a stacked lineup and you haven't delivered anything. You know?
Oh, that's kind. Do you think the Yankees have a stacked lineup?
Well, okay. Well, pardon my take.
Don't let Chris Adorosio hear that.
Oh, yeah, poor Chris. His ears must be bleeding at this point.
PSG's just looking dangerous. But like you said, this is, in my opinion, this is what we thought Chelsea, when they made all the signings last year, we thought Chelsea was going to be very dangerous. And they started out slow, and then the end of the year on a good run. So it's all a matter of time to see whether or not this team gels together or not.
Yeah. Now, the one concern that is not getting talked about as much as it should be getting talked about is Lionel Messi is now a free agent. His window with Barcelona expired at midnight last night in regards to a contract renewal. We put out a Twitter poll out there for you fans to take a look at and go vote on our @PodcastCard Twitter page. And basically, these are your options. With Lionel Messi officially a free agent now, where do you expect his next home will be? Inter Milan, option A. B, Manchester City. C, he's MLS bound. Or D, he returns to Barcelona and stays with Barcelona. What do you think?
I think he's going back to Barcelona. I think if they can agree on the deal that they have an idea on, I think he relatively stays there. I think with some of the additions that Barcelona are talking and bringing in as well, I think it's a good fit for him to stay there for the next couple of seasons as well. I do think he'll be MLS bound, but not until at least 2023, 2024.
Okay. Andrew?
I agree. I think he'll stay at Barcelona. I mean, I think if he was going to be on the move, there would have been a little bit more buzz at this point in the summer, because that's just such a huge potential move that it feels like it's been too quiet on that front for him to go somewhere else. So I think Barcelona will bring him back. I think he'll get the contract he's looking for there. And I think, there have been a lot of rumors over the last half a year, 6 months, however long it's been. But I think at the end of the day, he probably always wanted to stay at Barcelona if possible, given that he's been there so long and has given so much to the club. So I think realistically speaking, both parties kind of want that outcome. And I think it's only a matter of time at this point, personally.
Yeah, I think it would just be the craziest thing to see, Sergio Aguero finally agreed to move on and go to Barcelona for Lionel Messi to be like, just kidding, I'm leaving.
Yeah.
like, especially after they spent so much time together in Copa America, just talking about all this as well.
Mm-hmm.
The only other move that's still pending at the moment, which is still being negotiated and has been negotiated for days now, is Moise Kean expected to go back on loan to PSG from Everton, as PSG is not willing yet to buy his permanent contract. Do we see that happening or do we not? With Everton needing to continue to build, especially with Rafa Benitez and more than likely James Rodriguez out of Everton at this point because of that rocky relationship with Rafa.
Well, I think especially if you're going to potentially lose a guy like Dominic Calvert-Lewin, I think that Moise Kean is definitely someone you want to bring back into the swing of things. But again, I wouldn't be surprised if PSG gets him for another year on loan, and then after that potentially buying him. I think with them is they don't want to put money into him because they want to see where Mbappe ends up. If Mbappe is staying with them long term, there's no really reason to buy him. He's basically their backup in case Mbappe pulls the plug on being a PSG player.
Yeah, no, it's a hell of a backup. What about you, Mr. Everton? This is your topic, sir.
I would be pretty surprised personally to see Moise Kean back at Everton. I don't think he particularly enjoyed his time when he was here. He wasn't handled all that well by a couple different managers, permanent and interim. And as much as I love Everton, why would you rather play for Everton than PSG in the Champions League if you're Moise Kean? So my hope personally from an Everton perspective would be that we could hold firm and get a transfer fee from him from PSG this window, because I just don't really see him coming back, and I'd rather just get it sorted and get a fee that we could use to invest in improving the squad elsewhere rather than loaning him out again and just giving them more time to decide after he's already had a successful loan there.
Yeah, no, I would agree with that. I think for Everton, their major focus right now should be go ahead, let it be a loan deal, get some more money, and secure Denzel Dumfries right now. It's your most important move right now, especially if you're gonna lose some major pieces along the way. But with that said, real quick, Copa America is still happening. Tomorrow, we'll see Peru versus Paraguay, Brazil versus Chile, and then on Saturday we'll see Uruguay versus Colombia, Argentina versus Ecuador for the quarterfinal round. Obviously, semifinals, match for third and final to be coming down the line as well. Saturday, July 10th is when the final will be at 8 o'clock. Real quick, if you're watching Copa America and you are following Peru, that is the storyline you need to be sticking to. These guys were counted out of this tournament before it even started. They ended in second place in Group B behind Brazil, which also, as Arielle Castillo mentioned, Colombia were fucked over by Brazil. There is no nicer way to put it. They were completely fucked over a very controversial play in which the referee was involved in touching the ball and allowing the play to continue when he shouldn't have even allowed that to continue. It should have been a drop ball, fair play, restart the play, and move forward. But, of course, Colombia and Brazil just have that bad blood between them too, and where the tournament's being held in Brazil, unfortunately, not much that could be done here. Colombia getting a tough draw against Uruguay. Obviously, another match to follow. It is on Saturday, July 3rd at 6 p.m. So if you're around this weekend, celebrating 4th of July, just want to get drunk and watch some good soccer, that's a match to watch as well, right after the Euro Ukraine versus England game at 3 o'clock. And then you got Argentina versus Ecuador. If you are an Ecuadorian fan, this is your must-watch game of the tournament. This is your opportunity to finally make it through the semifinal round and beat Argentina at their own game, considering Argentina has not looked strong at all in this tournament. So, with that said, that's it for episode 42. That's it, fellas. We had a lot to talk about. Holy crap.
Yeah.
I'm exhausted. I don't know about you guys, but I'm exhausted.
My
I'm
eyes
ready for
hurt.
bed. Yeah.
With that baby face you got, man, I can totally see you being so comfortable in your pillow doing that position. It's just, I just want to be a fly in the wall. I just want to be
reel it in.
But
reel
anyways,
it in. Stop daydreaming about Andrew. Reel it in. Reel it in.
I could go 4 rounds of daydreaming about Andrew.
No, Yep, let's go.
But with that being said, it is episode 42, Yellow Card Podcast signing off. Your host, Diego Galvez, accompanied by Chris Jones, SC Jones 1212 on Twitter, and Andrew Fasciano at AFASSC 573 on Twitter. God damn, dude, you need to change that Twitter handle, will you? And at
Make it
Diego
easier for him to
the
read.
DJ. Yeah, at Diego _ DJ on Twitter. Episode 42. Until next week, guys. Be on the lookout for the Twitch channel because we will be streaming at some point. Be on the lookout for that. Until next week, episode 42, Yellow Card Podcast. See you.